Most people don't live, they just play roles. They wake up every day, slip into a costume called adulthood, and perform. They clock in, they smile, they do what's expected, and deep down there's this quiet ache that something's missing. But they push it aside because there's no time to feel, there's only time to function. And so they wait for Friday, for the vacation, for retirement, for permission to finally breathe.
But here's the truth no one wants to admit. The system is not broken. It's working exactly as designed to keep you chasing things that were never meant to fulfill you. You weren't born to grind your soul away for a paycheck and call it purpose. You weren't meant to spend your best years waiting to feel alive. And if something in you feels off lately, like you're moving through life but not living it, then stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the life you think you're supposed to live might be the very thing standing in the way of the one you were meant for. Carl Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And isn't that what we've done? We've wrapped ourselves in routines, convinced that suffering now will bring peace later. But later is a myth. It's the lie that keeps you obedient, quiet, tired. The 9-to-5 life isn't security, it's sedation. It asks for your fire and gives you a paycheck in return. And the longer you stay, the more you forget you ever wanted more. Until one day, you look up and realize you've traded your soul for a salary. You keep saying it, one day. One day you'll slow down. One day you'll take that trip, start that passion project, fix your sleep, finally feel like yourself again. But that one day keeps moving, doesn't it? Like a horizon you can never touch. And while you wait, life doesn't pause for you. Time doesn't care about your plans. It just keeps slipping through your fingers while you chase deadlines and answer emails and tell yourself it's just not the right time. Carl Jung wrote, "Thoroughly unprepared, we take the step into the afternoon of life. We take this step with the false assumptions that our truths and ideals will serve us as they have before. But they don't, because we're still living like life is a ladder, not a moment. We sacrifice the present for a future we might never reach. We keep trading today's peace for tomorrow's illusion. The danger isn't just that we wait too long, it's that we wait so long we forget how to live. We lose the ability to feel joy without justification, to rest without guilt, to love without timelines. And by the time we think we're ready, we're already too far from ourselves to recognize who we used to be. There's a reason why some people can have the job, the house, the family, and still feel hollow. They did everything right, and yet something feels wrong. That emptiness you can't name, that quiet sense that your life doesn't fit you anymore. Carl Jung called it the midlife crisis, but it's not about age, it's about awakening. He said, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning. For what was great in the morning will be little at evening, and what in the morning was true will at evening have become a lie." Western philosophy echoes the same idea. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. Yet most of us are terrified to look inward. We'd rather stay distracted than risk discomfort. But here's the truth. If you don't face what's inside you, it will keep showing up on the outside, through burnout, through regret, through that subtle ache that never fully goes away. It's not rebellion to search for more, it's survival. Because if you don't face what's calling you from within, life will do it for you. Usually through pain, through breakdown, through everything falling apart, so you finally look inward. It doesn't hurt enough, that's the problem. Your life isn't falling apart. It's just numb. predictable, safe. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous. You're not miserable, but you're not fulfilled either. You're somewhere in the middle, floating, just comfortable enough not to question anything. And little by little, that comfort becomes your prison, a cage with soft cushions, decorated with routines, reinforced by fear of change. The truth is, discomfort pushes us to grow, but comfort lulls us to sleep. It tells you, this isn't so bad. At least you're secure. At least you're stable. But at what cost? Every day you stay in the familiar, you trade possibility for predictability, you sacrifice vitality for convenience, you settle for surviving instead of feeling alive. Jung once said that we cannot change anything unless we accept it. But we don't accept the truth. We deny our dissatisfaction because change would mean facing the unknown, and that terrifies us more than staying stuck. So we decorate the cage, we call it adulthood, we call it being responsible. And we tell ourselves it's normal to feel this empty. But normal doesn't mean natural. And safety doesn't mean freedom. Not if you're quietly dying inside. One day, no one's going to care how many hours you worked or how many meetings you nailed. No one's going to remember the late nights spent answering emails or the times you forced yourself to smile through exhaustion just to meet a deadline. What they'll remember, if anything, are the moments when you were truly you, when you laughed from the gut, when your eyes lit up, talking about something you loved, when you made someone feel seen, not because it was on your to-do list, but because your soul was awake. We've been conditioned to believe our worth lives in bullet points, degrees, job titles, promotions, achievements. But a resume is just a highlight reel of what the system finds acceptable, not what makes you human, not what makes you unforgettable. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's because most of us have forgotten who we are outside of what we do. We wear competence like armor, hoping it will shield us from the fear that we're not enough. But your life isn't a LinkedIn profile, it's a story, a messy, beautiful, painful, real story. And if you spend it performing, you'll miss the parts that actually matter. They told you that sacrifice was noble, that giving up your time, your sleep, your passions, even your health was the price of being successful. And so you did. You worked late. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You put everyone else's needs ahead of your own. You showed up even when your spirit was dragging behind you. And they applauded you for it, called you strong, called you reliable. But deep down, something didn't feel right. Because no one ever asked what it was costing you. We live in a culture that glamorizes burnout and calls it ambition, that rewards overcommitment and calls it dedication. But Carl Jung warned us long ago, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. When was the last time you looked inward and asked, is this even my dream I'm killing myself for? There's a difference between effort and erasure, between building something meaningful and slowly disappearing under the weight of other people's expectations. Success is not about how much of yourself you can burn to keep the world warm. It's about how much of yourself you still recognize when you get there. You keep waiting for the stars to align, for the schedule to clear, for the fear to go away. You tell yourself you'll start when things settle down, when the timing's better, when the kids are older, when you're more ready. But the truth, that perfect moment you're waiting for, doesn't exist. Life doesn't pause until you feel brave enough to begin. It moves, fast, messy, relentless. And while you wait, you're not just delaying action, you're delaying yourself. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people wait for fate to give them permission to change. But what if waiting is the thing keeping you stuck? What if the real reason you're not moving forward isn't because the moment isn't right, but because deep down you're afraid of what stepping into your real life might demand? You've got the steady job, the bills are paid, the roof doesn't leak, and still you lie awake at night with that tight, sinking feeling in your chest. On the outside, it all looks fine. You're secure. But inside, something is quietly breaking, because security without joy isn't peace. It's a slow erosion of the self. It's a life that looks good on paper but feels hollow in the soul. It's surviving, not living. And you weren't born just to maintain comfort. You were born to feel alive. Now you've got the steady job, the bills are paid, the roof doesn't leak, and still you lie awake at night with that tight, sinking feeling in your chest. On the outside, it all looks fine. You're secure. But inside, something is quietly breaking. Because security without joy isn't peace. It's a slow erosion of the self. It's a life that looks good on paper but feels hollow in the soul. It's surviving, not living. And you weren't born just to maintain comfort. You were born to feel alive. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But most people never get there because the system convinces them that joy is irresponsible, that chasing what lights you up is risky. So you stay in the job, in the loop, in the silence. You trade wonder for routine, laughter for duty, purpose for predictability. But comfort isn't the same as contentment. A padded cage is still a cage. And no amount of retirement plans or status updates can replace what you lose when you abandon what makes you feel. You don't need to blow it all up, but you do need to stop confusing safety with fulfillment, because you deserve more than just not being afraid. You deserve to be free. There's a question most people avoid, not because it's hard to answer, but because deep down they already know the truth. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not because it was productive, not because it made money, not because someone needed you to, but because it lit something up inside of you, because it felt good. Because it reminded you that you're still alive beneath all the layers of responsibility, pressure, and performance. For many, that moment is buried so far back they can barely remember it. And yet something in them aches for it. A walk with no destination. A song that made them cry. A moment of silence that didn't feel empty but full of presence. Carl Jung once said, what you resist persists. And maybe what's been persisting in you, the anxiety, the restlessness, the low-grade sadness, isn't weakness. It's a soul that's starving for truth, for aliveness, for something real. The scariest part? Most people get to the end of their lives never having asked that question honestly. Don't be one of them. Ask it now. Sit with it. Let it crack something open, because the answer might just lead you back to yourself. You weren't born to be a background character in your own story. But that's what happens when life becomes one long to-do list. When your days blur into obligations, your dreams gather dust, and your spirit quietly dims. You wake up, go through the motions, check the boxes, scroll to numb the ache, sleep, repeat. And somewhere deep inside, you wonder, is this all there is? Not because your life is falling apart, but because you're not really in it anymore. You're surviving, not living. Carl Jung warned, people grow like plants, some in the light, others in the shadow. But many of us are stuck in artificial light, pretending we're growing while slowly wilting in routine. And nothing changes until you interrupt the pattern. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now interrupt the pattern by doing something different. Anything that reminds you that you still have a choice. A walk with no destination. A conversation that's honest instead of polite. A day where you do something that feeds your soul, not your schedule. You don't need a complete escape, you need a reconnection with yourself, with your life, with the parts of you that are still waiting to be lived. That's where everything begins to shift. There comes a moment, not loud, not dramatic, where something inside you whispers, enough. Enough waiting, enough pretending, enough going through life on autopilot. That moment isn't marked on your calendar. It doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It's quiet, personal, and unshakably honest. And if you're here, reading this, feeling something stir inside you, then maybe this is that moment. Carl Jung wrote, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that's what this comes down to. Not inspiration, not motivation, action. A single choice that says, I won't live like this anymore. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to choose yourself once, and then again tomorrow, and again after that. This isn't where your life magically transforms. This is where you decide to start participating in it again, fully. Honestly, no more waiting for clarity or permission. No more bargaining with time like you're guaranteed more of it. Right here, this breath, this feeling, this moment is the beginning. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally chose to stop being a spectator. You've arrived at the edge of everything you've been avoiding. Now, step in. You don't owe the world a version of you that's half awake. You owe yourself the chance to live fully, fiercely, and on your own terms, starting now. If something in you moved today, don't let it fade. Keep going, keep questioning, keep becoming. Watch the next video on your screen and keep walking toward the life that feels like yours. And thank you for being a part of Mosaic Mind.